or design news did you see this week?
I don't know if it was this week, but we weren't here last week. So we're going to be covering news, I think, from the last 2 weeks. Get y'all up to speed. So one of the things that we use quite a lot here at Shift are the many Google apps. So we're use Google Apps for our email and for the file storage, Google Drive, and all sorts of the Google apps. And they recently did a little, as they do, they kind of refresh things or change things, or they roll out a new update. And this one was kind of pretty major, changing the different icons that I am used to seeing in the browser. And then it kind of suddenly changed just for one of them for me. Like my calendar changed first. I don't know why that was, if I was supposed to initiate something that would roll them all out at the same time, but for whatever reason, my calendar went first, and I didn't recognize it for a second. I thought I was at the wrong place.
I have noticed happening a little bit over time, but I confess that I wasn't that quite as tuned into it, I think, as a bunch of other people seem to have been.
I think that maybe the Drive one was the first one like months ago to change, because that one looks more like
a little bit less unfamiliar.
Yeah, I'm used to it. And so I feel like that one might have been the one that actually changed first. And it's kind of like this thicker, chunkier, more rounded approach with all of these. What is the one next to the...
Let me just share something else here. I found a thing where we can compare the before and the after.
Oh, that would be good.
Useful.
That would be good. That would be good. Yeah.
So now we can tell what they were, what they are now. So the Google Drive one, didn't change all that much. It's just integrating more of the color palette, the Google palette.
Right.
But the others are much more, much bigger. And I think, we're used to the mail, at least for me, the Gmail one maybe feels a bit jarring because we've had that one for so long. And
do you have the Google the Doc one? Because I don't have that one yet. I'm still seeing the old little dog-eared.
I too am still seeing this thing, the all blue with the sort of not exactly skeuomorphic foldy dog-eared bit.
Yeah.
And then this is this meat? Is that what that is? I don't even recognize the old one.
Yes. Yeah, it is meat. But yeah, it's interesting that they kind of did a dog-eared thing in the new one.
They carried that piece over because they could. The calendar seems fine. There's a little dog earring on the calendar as well, I guess. And some people are expressing a lot of scorn.
They're feeling a kind of way about it, that's for sure.
Yeah. With the idea that they all look the same. And I think that I see their point, but I also think maybe live with it for a couple weeks and then see if you still think that.
Yeah, I think like anything I can understand the desire to have everything streamlined and look like they belong to the same family. Because, in the row above, they kind of have a more distinct look of their own and aren't connected to each other with visual and, color or, some of the things that brands will do to connect their sub-brands.
I mean, all that's kind of going to carry things through is that the shadow all seems to, like the light source seems to all be in the same place. They all have this sort of little bit of a shadow going in the same direction. So that must have been something that they brought all together at one point. But other than that, I mean, they could almost be completely different product groups. You wouldn't have a sense that they were the same company at all. They're just all different ways of doing a thing. I guess the two closest are the calendar and the meat, in that they both have a fold in the center. And that's about it. And so I can see why, when you think about, as we've talked about in past episodes, a house of brands or a branded house, they just wanted it in some way to all relate more closely together because they are a product suite.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I haven't seen the Google Docs one roll out, and I wonder if they're going to be doing icons for slides and sheets and some of those other, sub brands.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
interesting.
I would imagine they will.
Mm-hmm.
But people got angry. I think people like to rant is kind of the thing. People like to have a thing to go off on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in general, change is hard,
Mm-hmm.
and, there's varying degrees of your reaction to something, it depends on your loyalty or your usage or lots of different things, your
Mm-hmm.
emotional connection to it. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of, if I'm a brand and someone gets that up in arms about it, it's kind of that old adage, there's no such thing as bad press. It's kind of like, oh, well, you care so much, you care enough to voice your opinion, you're really passionate about our product or our brand. So I feel like that's kind of a, you can take it as a good thing.
Sure. There's a piece of it, though, that I think it is also that Google, being a very, very large and very well-funded company, a company with a lot of resources,
Yeah.
people hold them to a tougher standard than they might to others. And they are also, in a way, maybe just sort of a bigger target for people to try to react to. But you're right. If people care that much, at least they are noticing you.
Yeah, at least they
as
care.
We've said before. Right. There's no such thing as bad press in some worlds. So
yeah. So that's what happened in the world of Google. Well, not in the world of Google, but one thing in the world of Google.
a notable thing, and in the world of design and graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
And then as for other large companies making